and the service area is 3/4 of a mile beyond where the fixed route bus goes. And the fixed route bus does not go within 3/4 of a mile of the address that Robin gave. The other issue is it is in Grand Rapids Township, and as you may know, when Bill mentioned the 6 member cities of the Rapid, the outlying townships, or any of the townships, are not tax-paying members of the authority, so they don't have public transportation service in that township. So there could be a hybrid of sorts with a contract or something, but at this time there is none. And those are part of the, I think, the boundaries that all of us were kind of talking about that are artificial in that they're, you know, governmental boundaries. There's a reason why Grand Rapids Township has its area and everybody else, but for people, those of us who need to get places, why is there a wall there? You know, why is there a wall across East Paris that Robin can't get to? And it's a funding thing mostly, as a lot of things get to be, is, you know, those trips have to be paid for, the service has to be paid for, and where does that come from? Does it come from the taxpayers of the 6 member cities? Does it come from the taxpayers of Grand Rapids Township? Does it come from the whole county, as people are recommending? You know, could we have some kind of a millage or a rate that the whole county pays and there is some service? Those are all the things that we're trying to work out. And I know Robin, I can hear her frustration of, it's already how many years, Dave? 17? And, you know, how long do we have to wait, and who is going to miss going to places that they need to go to now that are not going to have those opportunities because it's not going to happen in the next 5 years? It may, but it may not.
Could I add something, Eric?
Yes, Mr. Kirk?
Just in the spirit, Robin, of being hopeful, because I've heard a lot of that up at the table today, and I think that's right on. But you all probably are aware of a lot of development that's starting to happen outside of the city limits of Grand Rapids in some of these more suburban townships. And you know, I can't say anything for certain, but there are large organizations, there's important entities in West Michigan that understand the importance of exactly what Robin is talking about. And so I've been encouraged in the last couple of years to see these conversations about how do we get transit out to other places that it doesn't currently serve. I've been very encouraged to see those conversations initiated by non-typical parties, shall we say. So, like we said, you know, you can't put a pinpoint on the calendar and say exactly when things are going to happen. But I've noticed a shift in the mentality about people developing things outside of Grand Rapids and in townships where they understand that there's going to be a need for transit service for people that cannot drive a car or choose not to drive a car. And those conversations are moving faster, I think, than they have in a long time. So there's some hope.
Thank you, Bill. Yes.
My name is Melena Vanderwall, and I would first like to say how much I appreciate GoBus, especially since I no longer have their service. I've traveled on a few different paratransit systems since I started taking paratransit around 14 years ago altogether. And GoBus is by far the best service that I have utilized to this date. The other thing that I want to make a comment on is it's not just trying to convince the community that we need countywide transportation, but trying to convince the townships, such as Gaines Township, where I live, as well as Byron and any of the other surrounding townships, trying to convince them is really going to be the key and the battle. And it's definitely an uphill climb.
Can I throw in there, Eric?
Yes.
I think one of the most important pieces is for us to continue to tell our stories and the reality that exists, you know, because Robin, your story about, you still just want to go see your mom and dad at Cook Valley, and Melena, you just want to get into the 6 cities from Gaines Township. And the other
no restrictions.
What's that?
I want no restrictions.
Right, absolutely. But the rest of us, if we have a vehicle or even using mainline, what are the opportunities that we have that because of these lines that we have and what can we afford or not afford, or, we'll save that for a few comments down in our conversation. But to say that, currently today, if you live in Alpine Township, you can come into the 6 cities, but you can't go to Plainfield Township. If you live in Plainfield Township, you can't go into Alpine Township, but you can go into the 6 cities and go home. But if you live in the 6 cities, you can't go into Plainfield Township. And all of these places touch each other on the map. If you live in Comstock Park, which is one of those beautiful places that was invented before or maybe we drew the lines and they didn't care where the lines were, because Comstock Park is half in Alpine Township and half in Plainfield Township. You got to know which side of Comstock Park you live in to go there. You can't go to Fifth Third Ballpark to see a game if you live in the Alpine side of Comstock Park, even though you could probably see the ballpark. And so if you can't literally walk or roll there, you can't get there from here. And so all of these pieces to really show the reality that unfortunately we chuckle about, because we need more people to see what's the current reality. And every service that's out there, except for the Go Bus, which has the Americans with Disabilities Act mandates, every other service is rationed. North Kent Transit, which provides service for the majority of the townships, is rationed. You can only use 20 trips a month, and between the hours of 8 and 4, or 8 and 4:30, Monday through Friday, so no weekend service. RideLink, which is funded by senior millage for folks 60 and up, again is rationed. You have to find a way to get on it, and then you may or may not have the capacity for those trips. So the more service we provide for transportation, the more people in our community utilize it. And from my perspective, there's a huge return on that investment. That again, people are able to stay healthy, people are able to stay connected to their communities of faith, people are able to go out and spend their cash in our communities. Another issue that we're not going to digress in too much is the taxation of internet sales. Well, if I can't leave my house and go to Meijer's store, which again might be a mile down the street, I'm going to buy this online from a place in Topeka, Kansas, to pick on a city that comes to mind, and I'm not going to pay Michigan sales tax, or I'm supposed to on my Michigan income tax return, but how many of us check that box and pay whatever that percentage is supposed to be? And I don't know if the state's good at tracking me down or not, though I do pay my sales tax. I do. I checked the box and I paid it. With it being elected, you got to make sure, Josh might be checking on me. So I mean, all of those things, it's about the community, it's about how do we care for each other, it's about the economy, it's not creating a great place because we have a great place, it's connecting all the great places we already have to each other. So keep telling your story, Robin, and man, I hope it's not 5 years. That's what I said in 1996, and we're still working on it.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Stewart, and I'd like to thank all of y'all for showing up. And my question is to Mrs. Joyce. And this question is, with the seniors and disability population so synonymous, what is the Rapid doing better to accommodate those of us seniors who are disabled and need accessible transit but aren't, such as Go Bus eligibility?
That's a good question, because that senior tsunami is hitting all of us as we speak, and it is a national problem, so to speak. It is a talk at national conventions. I just was at one and everybody was mentioning it. Really over the years, the Rapid has made a lot of improvements to its service. For instance, the improvements that just went in effect in August with the 15-minute headways during the peak time on some of our busiest routes. The other ones are at 30 minutes. If you recall, some routes used to wait, it'd be an hour in between buses coming. We don't have that anymore. All of our bus stops are ADA accessible now. We've put, if you notice, the bus stop, there may be bus stops kind of in grass, but the bus stop itself has a cement pad around it, hoping that when the municipalities put sidewalks in for everybody, our pad will be connected to the sidewalk. So all of our bus stops are accessible in that if you're in a wheelchair, have a mobility device, or even if you need a cane, you'll have a stable ground to stand on and you'll know where the bus stop is. So that has been done recently. All of the buses have, most all of them have low floors. I think we still have a few that have lifts on them. Over the years, bus manufacturers have realized that the low floors are a lot better than the lifts. They don't malfunction as much and things like that. So even if you aren't in a wheelchair but you have a mobility issue, you can't climb up a step. Sometimes it's their people's arms that are too, it's how the bus steps used to be really tall and they couldn't, grab on and pull up. You don't have to do that anymore. The steps are low, the buses kneel to the curb, or the driver can lower the ramp for you. If you don't have a wheelchair, if you don't have a walker, you are still allowed to use that ramp if you need it. So all of our buses are accessible physically to people with mobility problems. We have voice enunciators on all the buses, so if you have a visual problem, you can hear the major transfer points as well as stops. When the bus pulls up to the stop, it announces what route it is and what direction it's going. So all those things have been put in place over the years to make it as accessible as possible to people with disabilities and to seniors. And the communities have followed suit in some instances and some not. Curb cuts, you all know there's places with curb cuts and places without. And whether you use a wheelchair or are a senior who maybe walks slowly or has a cane or just maybe shuffles their feet a little more, or if you have a baby stroller, you use those curb cuts. So the cities are catching up and sidewalks are being put in. Alpine Township's got sidewalks in a lot of areas that it didn't have 20 years ago and things like that. So I think the Transit Authority is doing a lot, and then of course the communities around it have to do their share too, and that it is all coming.
I understand that part because I've been over here 18 years and I moved here from Muskegon where Peter Vargas came from, and I did. So when I first moved here, I understand that you've made a lot of improvements as far as the 15-minute routes, curb cuts and all of that. But like a person like me who I feel needs to be Go Bus eligible because of my disabilities, and I'm not have to ride fixed routes, and if I have to try to take 3 tasks a day, going to CCIT meetings, going to Dakc, or getting to Department of Human Services, whereas I'm employed by AARP. And my limbs all the time doesn't function because of disabilities that I have, and some that I got, when I fell off of the bus a couple of times and broke bones. So therefore, I'm not getting any younger, I'm getting older, so arthritis and all this stuff sets in, and yet still I apply, and all I can do is ride from November 15th to March 15th when ice and snow. I still have difficulties throughout the whole year, whether it's ice or snow, rain, or whatever the case may be, because I'm still an active person. I don't want to just sit at home, because Dakc has taught me that I have a place out here in society, and I want to be able to fulfill those boots to be able to move around and not sit at home, because there's places that I can go and I can be a part of Dakc, I can be a part of CCIT. I just got in with the Women's Auxiliary. I have to go to meetings, and so this is important to me. I work at the polls, 5 o'clock in the morning, I have to catch a bus to try to be there, and it's dark. And now that I've moved, I'm not on Cherry and Eastern anymore. I am on the corner of Sheldon and Delaware, and there might be curb cuts, but there's no place to sit on the southwest side of the division or on the southeast side of the division. And I have to walk every morning that I have to work to Department of Human Services. And I was catching the Go Bus, because the weather was bad. But even though I make the money to pay for it, I'm not allowed to ride it, even though we had snow way beyond March 15th. People like me are falling through the cracks of the ADA, and I just wonder what was the Rapid doing to curtail this, because more like me are coming. I meet them every day. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you for what you have done, but I want to open your eyes as to what is to come, because more and more people like me are coming with knee implants. I need another knee implant. And we want to get outside of the house and do things. We want to go to the park. We want to go shopping. I don't want to shop online. Okay, I want to be able to go to the mall, but I have so far to walk, I can't do it, okay? That's what my point is. Going to the grocery store, picking up groceries and trying to carry them. The weight goes to my feet and to my knees. I have a weight limit as far as my knee is concerned, because it will explode.